Hey guys, it's Mr. Sandoval back with weekly video number 13, Genetics and Heredity Part 2. Okay, we're continuing on genetics and heredity. On the back of the page where you did week 12, you can do the notes for week 13. So why don't you write Genetics and Heredity Part 2 and write a big number, week number 13, and number 1 through 5. Alright? Okay, so again, we were talking about genetics, and can we make a zebra, kangaroo, ram mix? How about a squirrel, tarantula? Sounds pretty cool, right? No, we can't do that. That's too far. DNA changes, genetic engineering is very subtle. It's things, mostly things you can't see. You know, we're just changing one gene. We cannot combine two organisms. Sorry. It would be pretty cool, but probably not going to happen anytime soon. All right. Something that scientists do study is, and sometimes kind of weird and kind of interesting, is fruit fly. They study fruit flies a lot because they're easy to work with. They're easy to use. It's easy to manipulate their DNA. And there's a mutation where this fruit fly has legs growing where the antenna should be. It's a weird mutation. The DNA, the gene is activating in the wrong part of the body, and it's growing actually a leg right out of the fruit fly. So that's kind of neat, kind of interesting. Genetic engineering, here's another example. You've heard of diabetes. People with diabetes have a problem with this chemical that their pancreas makes called insulin. And so what they do is they take a human gene that makes insulin, okay, it's the gene that makes insulin in our body, and they actually put it into a bacteria DNA. And the bacteria actually make insulin. So the bacteria, in a lab, a lot of bacteria will make a lot of insulin, and they can use that insulin to, people can use that insulin to help treat their diabetes. So if a person can't make the insulin the way they want to, the bacteria actually can do it for them, and then they can bottle that and package it, and the person can use that in their own body. So we're actually using bacteria as a little factory by giving them one little piece of DNA, one little gene that we have, and they use that gene to make insulin. So that's pretty cool. Again, genetics and heredity. We're talking about how parents pass traits to offspring. A lot of traits we talk about we can see, like hair color, straight or curly, or eye color, ears, tongue rolling, things like that. But most of the traits, are things we can't see. It's everything that's happening inside your body. So right now, why don't you write down one note, something that you're thinking about or that you just heard for the video. Again, pause the video anytime to catch up. Alright, again, here is a picture of all of the DNA in a human cell. These are the 46 chromosomes, 23 pairs. Alright, and again, as we look into a cell and we magnify and we see the nucleus, and then we magnify more and we see the chromosomes, and then we unravel that and we get the DNA. And in that lab that we did this week, we actually saw this DNA come out of the all those wheat germ cells, right? And again, all of that DNA, as we unravel it, certain sections of DNA are genes. And maybe this section here is another gene, and here is another gene, but all those sections are genes, and we have many genes. Right, we have 46 chromosomes, 25,000 genes divided up on all those chromosomes, and each gene controls some sort of trait. Things we can see and things we cannot see. All right, and remember, it's important that this is what we're going to talk about now, that you have 2 copies of every chromosome, so you actually have 2 copies of every gene. So think about that. You actually have a double copy of every gene. Okay. So the question is, which gene does your body actually use? If you have 2 copies, maybe on this chromosome, here's your gene for eye color, and then there's another gene for eye color, one from your mom, one from your dad. which one does your body know how to use? Well, in many simple cases, we can break it down like this. Okay, let's take one chromosome. Okay, we have two copies of each chromosome. Okay, so let's say this is number 4. All right, and let's say that somewhere on here is a gene for freckles. Okay, you can have a gene that says you get freckles or a gene where you don't have freckles. All right, it's 2 possible genes: freckles gene and the non-freckles gene. Okay, and you have 2 copies. So which does your body use? Okay, which combination do you have? Okay, well, let's take a look at that. Okay, we're going to call freckles dominant, and we're going to give it a symbol of a capital F, okay, because dominant gets a capital symbol, capital letter. The non-freckles, we're going to call that recessive, and it's going to get a lowercase f, all right? So those are the 2 possibilities, okay? So let's look at example number 1. Let's say a person has a dominant and a dominant 2 freckles genes. What do you think they're going to have? They're going to have freckles because they have 2 freckles genes. Either one is going to give you freckles, okay? Well, let's look at another example. Let's say the person has a freckles gene, maybe from their mom, and then they got a non-freckles gene from their dad. Which are they going to show? What's going to show on their face? Are they going to have freckles or no freckles? All right, what's your guess? Okay, if you said freckles, you are correct. Okay, that's because the freckles gene is dominant. And dominant, we say in an analogy, wins over the recessive. Okay, the dominant is the one that the body is going to show or use. Okay. Dominant wins over recessive in this case. Let's look at a third example. Let's say you have a non-freckles from mom and a non-freckles gene from dad, on these 2 chromosomes. Okay, what do you think you're going to have in this case? 2 recessive non-freckles genes. Right, you're going to have no freckles because there is no freckles gene, so it doesn't really matter if you use that one or that one. They're both non-freckles. Okay, no freckles. Okay, so again, you have 2 copies, and in many cases, it's simply one type of copy could be dominant, one could be recessive. It just depends what you get. Okay, so now you could be thinking, how could parents pass genes to their children that they don't show? Okay, think about that. Okay, so again, to review, dominant genes, we say, quote unquote, win over the recessive genes. So you have 2 copies. If you have a dominant, it's going to be the one that's expressed, that's shown in your body. Okay, doesn't mean it's good or bad. Could be either way. A dominant gene could be a bad gene. Could be a good gene, could not matter. It just depends on what combination of the 2 genes you get from your parents, because you always get 1 copy from mom, 1 copy from dad. All right. And again, you could have different combinations. Maybe both parents are freckles. Maybe 1 freckles, 1 no freckles. Maybe 2 no freckles. The parents can have many different combinations. Each parent only gives 1 of their genes, though, to the offspring. So could 2 freckles parents have a non-freckles child? Could these parents produce a child that has no freckles? What do you think? Why don't you write that down, yes or no? Could 2 non-freckles parents have a freckles child gene, offspring, excuse me? Yes or no? What do you think? Something to think about. Okay. And again, these processes that we're talking about of parents passing genes and dominant recessive, that also works for plants, okay, and their traits. Works for other animals too. Now, not every trait is just simple dominant recessive, but that's what we're going to talk about in class because it's kind of easy to see. All right, so again, write down some notes, 5 notes, and a picture. Draw a picture of what we've been talking about. All right, that's all you have to do for these notes for this week. Okay, genetics and heredity, part 2, week number 13. Okay, get those notes in, and I will see you in class. Bye.